guys, this is me again, Jen, and welcome aboard to my channel. And yes, I'm back for another video, and for today's vlog, I'm going to share to you my initial training experience. So if you are interested, then just keep on watching. But before that, please don't forget to subscribe, tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified on my next video, just like this one. So if you are ready, let's begin. So ever since I uploaded my recurrent training experience, a lot of you are really curious about the initial training. So that's why today I have decided to create a sit-in video about it so that all of your questions will be answered today, and also to give you a clear picture of what the training looks like. So let's begin. So this is the most common question that I encountered of how to be part of the initial training. So the first step is for you to apply. Once you will be accepted during the recruitment, so that's the time that you will be given a training schedule. So for this one, it depends on the situation. First, it depends on how fast you can process your requirements. Second one, it depends on how fast they can complete the number of heads per training class. And third, it also depends on the availability of the instructor. So in my case, I applied December 11 of 2016, but I got my training schedule April 3rd of 2017. So it took me 4 months before I was given a training schedule. It's because it took me some time to process all of my requirements. The training location is in Manila, and since I'm living in Cebu, that's why they gave me a free one-way ticket from Cebu to Manila with a 20 kilos free baggage as far as I can remember. And for the transfer date, it will be scheduled 2 days before the training. So since my training is scheduled for April 3rd, that's why my transfer date was scheduled April 1st. So the transfer was not easy. It was really hard knowing that I am a provinciana. It was my first time traveling in Manila alone, and also the language. That's the hardest part. I don't know, just find it super hard to speak in Tagalog before. Now, thank God, I'm getting better at it. But luckily enough, I'm just so happy because majority of the people who are staying inside the dorm are Bisaya. So meron from General Santos, from Davao, and from Bohol, and of course from Cebu, represent. So yun, I was just so happy. That's why it made the stay easy. So first day of training, Ria and I were together. It's because we are staying on the same dorm and we arrived just on time. So most of the seats were taken when we arrived. But there's this girl who raised her hand pointing on the empty seats beside her. And it just so happened that that girl was actually Elda. So that's how our friendship started. It was just so funny because when Ria and I took our seats, we were chatting in Tagalog. And then I think it took us 30 minutes to an hour, or no, almost an hour before we figured out that we are all Bisaya. That was just so funny. And I just would like to share this to you guys. I think this is worth sharing because during the first day of our training, it triggered my insecurity. When I walked inside the room during our first day of training, I immediately noticed the beautiful, composed, well-dressed women. And I can't help not to feel insecure because let's be honest, I'm not that pretty, but I'm not ugly too. I'm just an average girl, and it felt like I'm really out of the relief. My self-esteem that time really went down. But you know what I did in order to handle my insecurities? I told myself that yes, Jen, you might just be an average girl in the room, but you are the average girl who has a dream and is very hardworking, determined, passionate, and is very persistent in pursuing whatever she wants to achieve in life. And that's what makes you beautiful. So much for that. Let's go back to the training experience. So for the first day of training, it's just like a typical first day of class. There's a lot of introduction, meeting the heads or the managers, and they also brief us on what are the things that they expect from us, and they also ask us on what we expect from them. Before the class starts, there will be a grooming check wherein our class officers will check if we have the right shade of lipstick, blush on, or eyeshadow, or if our hair has been neatly done. So there are 2 grooming checks before the class starts in the morning and right after lunch. So we really need to redo or retouch our makeup from time to time. Now, if we have violations, then we need to pay 20 pesos. For that fund, it will be used during our graduation day. But let's not talk about the graduation for now. This is the most exciting part of what are the things that we need to learn or the types of training that we need to pass so that we will get to earn our wings. And I'll be more than happy to walk you through on each of those subjects. So for the first one is we need to learn the basic airline terms. So this is somewhat like an introduction to the aviation industry. The second one is the aircraft familiarization. This is when we will get to know more details about the aircraft type that we will be trained to. Next is the safety management system. This is more of the safety procedures. So we also have the emergency equipment wherein we need to memorize all of the equipment inside the cabin, and also we need to memorize the procedure, the duration if there is, the features of each equipment, and the location of each of the equipment inside the cabin. It's really hard because for the procedure of each of the equipment, you need to memorize it in verbatim. And there's a lot of them. Like, there's a lot. We term it as an emergency equipment plotting when you memorize the location of each of the emergency equipment. So the secret there is for you to memorize the location of each of the equipment is for you to understand why those equipment was placed there. Because trust me, it's strategically placed on each of the location. And we also have the emergency procedure. For the emergency procedure, if you have seen my recurrent training experience, then you already have an idea of what it is. And there are also certain emergency procedure that we need to memorize in verbatim, such as galley fire, if there is, or lavatory fire. There's a lot of procedures that we need to memorize. And most of those procedures are 5 to 10 steps. It's really nerve-wracking. So we do also have firefighting, wherein they will teach us on how to fight a fire. At first, I just thought that, okay, it's just fighting a fire. It's just easy. You just have to get the fire extinguisher and then fight the fire. No, it's not like that. There are different types of fire incidents, and we need to know first of what type of fire incident it is before we will fight it. Because every fire incident, there is a different procedure for that, and we need to know that too. So we also have first aid. If you have seen my recurrent training experience, then you already have an idea of what it is. But the first aid training during the initial training is way more extensive than the recurrent training. It has bigger scope because we need to learn different types of medical emergencies on board, and we need to learn how to handle each of them. An example of those medical emergencies are asthma, allergies, bleeding, burns or scald, emergency childbirth because it happens also on board. We also need to learn about diabetes and how to handle the hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. We also discuss about earache, eye injuries, fainting, food poisoning, different types of fracture and how to handle them, heart attack, hyperventilation, hypoxia. For the hypoxia, this is a lack of oxygen. Next is we also discuss about indigestion, motion sickness, the most common one on board. And we also have nose bleeding, seizures, or convulsion. And we also study about shock, sinuses, stroke, and suspected spinal injury. So those are the types of medical emergencies that we need to learn. Next is we also discuss about conditions of carriage. So what is conditions of carriage? This is when we study on how to handle passengers who are expectant mother, unaccompanied minor, or passengers with medical cases. We also have survival swimming. I know you are very curious about survival swimming, and a lot of you are asking me, Ate Jen, pwede bang maging flight attendant kahit hindi marunong lumangoy? The answer is yes. You may still apply even if you don't know how to swim. But it is important that you are willing to jump in the pool, which is 8 feet deep with no life vest at all. But if they notice that you are already drowning, they will throw a life vest at you and you need to grab that life vest and save yourself. But if you are having a hard time in saving yourself or grabbing that life vest, dun na yung time na lalangoy yung instructor towards you and save you. They need to see your determination and your willingness to learn how to swim. Yun yung pinaka-importante so that you'll get to pass the survival swimming. Majority of the time, we are wearing the life vest, but there are certain exercises that you will be paired and one of you will not wear the life vest and the other will be wearing the life vest. It's an exercise on how to save the person who is not wearing the life vest. Don't be afraid with the survival swimming, guys. Hindi ka pababayaan ng instructor mo. I do have batchmates who are struggling in the survival swimming class, but they made it, they passed. And next one is we also study about dangerous goods. So we study about the specific items that is deemed dangerous when you brought it on board. And the last but not the least is customer service handling. So during my time, it took us 46 days in order to complete the training. So for the entire duration of the training, we only have 2 lifelines. So what does this 2 lifeline means? If you failed on a certain exam, it only means you've already used your first lifeline. Now, if you failed again on the second exam, so you've already used up your second lifeline. On the third exam, if you failed again, since you've already used up your 2 lifelines, it only means you already failed the training. And immediately, you need to surrender your manual, your ID, and you need to leave the training room. Our batch is just so lucky because we graduated complete. There are batches na 7 sa kanila natanggal, merong 3 na natanggal, and it's really sad knowing that you started with 30 heads and you will graduate with only 23 heads. So once you pass the training, it doesn't end there because may check ride pa. And for that check ride, you will board the aircraft as an operating crew and a manager will observe you and how you work. And once you pass that, that's the time that you will earn your wings on your graduation day. So there guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot. Our initial training is definitely not easy. It involves a lot of memorization. It drains you physically, mentally, and emotionally. But if ever one day you'll start your initial training as a flight attendant, I want you to remember that before memorizing your training material, you have to understand it first because that way it is much easier. And you know, being a flight attendant is a little bit of everything. On an ordinary day, you are just giving your passenger the best customer service, but the next thing you know, you are already a firefighter, a nurse, a first aider, or a safety custodian. And the lives of those 180 to 346 passengers on board, it's already a shared responsibility between you and the other crew members, so you must be sharp enough. Thank you again, and until our next takeoff. Bye!